Nuggets.
Welcome into the DNVR Avalanche podcast presented by DraftKings Sportsbook. Use code DNVR when you sign up for a new account to get amazing odds boosts every single day. Avs versus Rangers on the first real proper road trip of the season as the Avs swing out east to take on three different teams. On the Avs side of things, call-ups are once again Martin Count and Mikhail Maltsev. They also have Devon Taves back in the lineup. The big storylines for tonight, Georgiev returns to New York, gets to play against Shesterkin. We get to see how that goes. Also, I guess, technically, Dryden Hunt returns to New York also. So that counts. New York off to a good start. What are the expectations for tonight for Colorado? Anyone?
Anyone?
None? Okay.
I don't know, man. The Georgiev returns to the Rangers thing is not something that moves the needle even a little bit for me. He didn't want to be there. The Rangers don't miss him. They're fine.
Sure. No, go ahead.
Something that moves the needle is the loss of someone like Dryden Hunt now in their depth. I'm sure there's a little bit of licking their wounds, hoping they had a player like that in their depth. Depth is something the Avs are struggling with. I feel like they're pretty similarly matched on paper for that type of reason. And even in the special teams battle, their strengths are each other's weaknesses in a way. So I feel like it's going to come down to good old 5-on-5 hockey and what they can do there. And I think that's where the Avs have a little bit of a slight edge, especially with how well Nichushkin's been playing. But Panarin's playing really well, too. So I think these are two similarly matched teams. I'm still hoping the Avs come out, though, narrowly on top, especially with the Georgiev storyline at play.
I think it's a bigger deal than what you're saying, AJ. I mean, he's going back, right? He wants to prove that he can be a starter, that he has something
He needs
there
to do that every day.
So I think it's going to be a big game for him.
Well,
now, maybe not for New York, but definitely for him. I mean, he's going to have to control his emotions coming out of the gate.
Play the way that he did against Vegas.
It'll be fine, man.
For sure.
Fine.
Look, so far this year he's got a better save percentage than Shesterkin. So
Yes, he does.
so far, so good.
Take that, Igor.
And what's the sample size? 3 games? So
Something like that.
That's all I need. I've seen
4
it's
games.
enough. 4, is it 4? Okay.
Yeah. 3 wins, both.
There you go. I want to talk about the Avs schedule a little bit because the Rangers are off to a good start. They've won, they're 5-1, I think. The Avs' quality of competition so far through this season. It started with Chicago. They're actually a team above 500 right now, but come on. Get beat by Calgary, a team who you expect to be good this year is quite good so far. You go through the rest of their schedule. You get Minnesota. Who really are they this year? I don't know if you know yet. You get a Vegas team that's been very good. The Avs are their only regulation loss so far. And you come into a team that you're expecting to be pretty solid this year in New York. Is there positives to read into here? They lost to Seattle too. Or are you a little bit concerned about some of the losses they have to weaker teams?
I mean, the only real big loss I think that you're looking at and you're saying the Avs should have had that game was against the Kraken, right? The first half of a back-to-back, they're fresh. They're playing a team that, they should be able to go out there and dominate because if you look at all the positions, the Avs have the advantage everywhere on the ice. That game against Calgary, again, that's the second half of a back-to-back. You can't really count that. Yeah. That's a great team.
It's also think of the differences between the second half of a back-to-back, flying into Calgary after
party until 4 a.m.
Well, and after, because you keep in mind, it's a lot longer flight than it is to Vegas to begin with. So you're probably only getting there 2 or 3 in best circumstances. But you're on national TV. You have the late start. You have a banner raising ceremony. Yeah. Puck drop doesn't happen until 8:15. You have a long game. It's a much longer night just to get through the game, and it's super hyper emotional. So there's that emotional letdown of the next game, and then you were against a team. You get into Calgary at 4 a.m. You're against a team that didn't just play the night before,
well, and it's their
and
home
is
opener.
Playing their home opener. That was the most scheduled loss that can possibly exist. And as we saw against Vegas, like, the Avs are pretty good. They've been very good in that situation, second nights of back-to-backs. I think the loss that I think probably disappointed me the most was the Jets.
Sure.
They had come back in that game. They had, on multiple occasions, they clawed their way back in.
Yep.
And against Seattle, it was like one bad shift. It was 22 seconds. They scored 2 goals.
And then one very obvious shouldn't be a goal.
Yeah, and then just a freebie in the latter half of the third period. And against the Jets, though, I just felt like they were building. If that game goes an extra 5 minutes in regulation,
they probably win it.
I feel good that the Avs come out with that with the 2 points there. And an overtime loss is hard to be like, oh well, they lost to the Jets. Like you got one of the points there. It's fine. But I think that was the one that I probably like the least, just because I think it was there for the taking. The Kraken were also like thoroughly outplaying the Avs that night.
Yeah.
That was the one I was going to touch on, too. There's a lot of lessons to be taken from the Kraken game, because I think this is going to be a theme at points for the Avs in the season where I don't feel like they respect the competition, and this is a Seattle team who is coming on the heels of a disappointing season with a lot to prove to the league, and they're also playing the defending Stanley Cup champions. Every team is going to want to give the Avs their very best, to include a team like Seattle, especially in the position that they're in with how they finished out last year. And I just didn't feel like the Avs played that game like they respected the competition enough, and they suffered for it. So I think that's something the Avs need to keep in mind throughout the season, is they're getting every team's best, and the execution is going to be what's so important, because we've seen them apply pressure as needed, and that was a game where they just didn't apply it appropriately. I believe that it's still possible for them, and it's going to come down to execution.
Yeah, we are used to seeing the Avs flip the switch when they need to, right?
Right.
And there are absolutely teams you can get away with that and win games. Seattle is probably one they should have been. They just never really flipped the switch.
Yeah, they were stuck in neutral that whole game.
Yeah, and
very annoying.
You compare that to teams like a Vegas where they did the job. A team like the Rangers, I would consider, it's hard to get away with that. You're going to need to bring a complete game. And really, the Vegas game is the only one I can mark down as one I feel comfortable with the full 60 minutes from Colorado in. So,
even with them slowing down in the third?
Yeah, I mean,
you were
understanding the situation.
Yeah.
Knowing that you were also killing a penalty every 4
it didn't help. They do need to stay out of the box for sure.
And tonight, especially against the Rangers, like you have a bad PK, they have a good power play. Don't play with that.
Yep.
Don't give them free opportunities. This is one of those matchups where the Avs don't walk in with a super obvious high-end skill advantage. For a Cale Makar, they've got an Adam Fox. For the for McKinnon and Rantanen, they've got Zibanejad and Panarin. There are really, 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 really good players on the New York Rangers at the top of that roster that have to be taken seriously and shown proper respect. Do not make life easy for them. They will burn you. You give them one opening, they will put that thing in the back of your net and change the game. Then having Devon Taves back will be great, because you hope that means a decreased role for Eric Johnson tonight, who's had a really slow start to the year. Yeah. You hope that they get to shelter him a little bit more naturally, but also that your top pairing gets to be your top pairing. I was going through every Avalanche pairing the other day just to see how they've done so far, and Byron Manson has been very good. I wasn't necessarily expecting that, but Byron Manson, very productive. That gives you the kind of second pairing that doesn't exist on the other side. So that's where their defensive depth could be and probably should be the great equalizer to the Rangers' high-octane attack at the top of their forward core. The bottom of each forward core isn't very good right now. Like, there's a reason that they just got rid of Dryden Hunt and tried to send him to the AHL. He might be the most motivated guy, more than Georgiev, to be like, I'm gonna go out and hit. I'm gonna hit everything that moves for all 5 minutes that I play tonight. And I expect he probably gets stuck with Maltsev and Kaut. Like,
That is
stuck
correct.
With,
I feel that's
like, it's just the easiest thing for them to do to play that line 5 minutes together tonight. And
I do want to get into that line. Megan, you've watched the Eagles up close a couple times this year. Maltsev, the new guy in that rotation, what can we expect?
it's a tough question to answer because his shortcomings are consistency related, and in a short window, like what we're probably can expect to see tonight, if he is fully engaged, then you can expect to see a player that is unafraid to engage in those battles and help to drive play. Like, he's a great setup player, especially when he is playing on wing. I don't know how they're going to use him tonight, if they're going to have him at center on that line.
Listed at center.
I would
Okay.
imagine, yeah, he's in the
So
middle
some of
that
his
line.
shortcomings can be defensively, but they do give him looks
that's
on the
good.
PK, and he and he plays center, so he has to be a little more reliable defensively, going deep in the zone. And he's had a good start to this season too, so he's kind of coming in off a hot start. He's been putting up points at the HL and getting, I would classify as top line minutes too, kind of top power play, PK, and top line minutes. So he's coming in from a good place. It's just throughout the course of a season where you see his play and his effort can sort of teeter off. So what you can expect tonight, though, is a guy who's highly motivated to be fully engaged and on. And if we get that version of Maltsev, then it's a pretty powerful player.
Is there reasonable hope for that line construction? Kaut being defense first guy when he's
Right.
on his game, Hunt being that physical edge. Does that help shade some of Maltsev's shortcomings?
I think it does. You know, I look at where some of his errors get made too, and I call them effort-based, but they could be effort-based mental lapses that sometimes look like they're out of fear of making mistakes. And hopefully together, if they're playing a strong defensive game as a line, you see fewer of those errors generally.
What's his nickname?
Maltsy.
Maltsev.
Boring. It could be Eminem. So easy.
His last name has malt in it, though.
Yeah, so?
Okay. It's bringing all the pucks to the yard. I guess it's not a milkshake, but, you know.
Bring
where
all
I'm
the
heading
pucks to the yard. I love that.
Mikhail Milky Maltsev.
I don't know if I like Milky Maltsev.
That sounds like a 1940s baseball player nickname.
It does. It definitely does.
Or a point guard.
yeah.
Oh, it absolutely is a point guard. I want to expand this beyond Maltsev a little bit because the reality of the Avs lineup is they're still not really getting any production from their bottom six. You have Nichushkin carrying that second line. I know he's on every line, but
He's got all the production for
Yeah,
that line.
right.
Like,
is there something the Avs can do to get that bottom six more offensive opportunity, or do they need to just figure it out?
they need to play better, man.
Okay.
Like, to be honest with you, it does suck that, like, your imported fourth line at this point has
Yeah.
made what you wanted to be your fourth line with Cogliano and LOC.
And it's your third line,
And,
yeah.
and now it's got Comfer in the middle,
Yep.
where he has consistently been worse as an NHL player than when he's just been relegated to right wing.
Yep.
So you're getting the nerfed version of JT Comfer, and now you're asking too much out of Andrew Cogliano and Logan O'Connor. Like, you've got two fourth lines right now.
But if they're just hemming stuff up down there and not letting the other team score, are you okay with it? I mean, like the production you're getting from the top two lines, or let's say the top line and one player on the second line.
Well, the thing that I would say, because so much of Nichushkin's production has come on special teams,
Yeah.
that if you were getting that production, if Newhook wasn't sitting on 0 points, now Urod has 2 goals in the last 2 games.
Yep.
That's better.
Yep.
But you'd like to see a little more even distribution. You know, you got 11 points, you've got 2 goals in 2 games, and you got nothing from Newhook.
Yeah.
So I think if you were to even up that distribution a little bit, you know, and you get a goal or 2 out of them, you love that.
Yeah.
Like, really, ideally, if you can get 1 goal out of that line,
You feel
out of
pretty good
that
on the
group.
night.
Yeah.
Yep.
And then if you get any offense whatsoever out of
Your bottom
any
six,
of those
yeah.
bottom 6, because I know Newhook and Comfer right now are sort of
They get flip-flopped, yeah.
They're sort of splitting the 2C, 3C jobs,
Yeah.
Yeah.
sort of kind of depending on situations. But at even strength, playing similar-ish minutes, with a little more deference going to Comfer because he's Bednar's
Because
like
it's Jared
blanky
Bednar,
boo.
yeah.
And everybody has that like comfort zone, right? And Comfer has just sort of been it for Bednar for a long time.
Yeah.
But I think those guys, like, they just gotta play better. Like Newhook, I think you've seen a much better version of Alex Newhook over the last couple of games. Really, the last week of games, I didn't really have a strong problem.
He's done everything but get the point.
He just didn't finish. Yeah, he just didn't finish it. He was all over the place though throughout the week. So, and you're like, look, he's playing much better than those first couple of games where you're like, dude, like you're just getting your teeth kicked in.
Didn't put on a list, but one more thing I wanted to get into. This is Game 7. You're not panicking about the Avs penalty kill, but what can they do to get it to start showing improvement? Because it's got to start getting better soon.
For me, it's discipline.
Yeah.
Because what we've seen when they've had their breakdowns, and what's frustrating is that it's a different guy with the breakdown.
Sure.
On a lot of the different
Loke,
goals.
Cogliano, Manson, Johnson.
Exactly. But you're seeing veteran players just making too aggressive of a read.
Yeah.
And I like aggressive penalty kills, but when you're talking about abandoning the front of your own net,
Too aggressive.
to try and go make a play on a guy who's got the puck in the corner. Why?
Yeah.
And we're seeing, and like the Cogliano one against Vegas the other day was mind-boggling because he sees it, he
Skates
goes
away from it.
Oh shit! It starts to go that way, and then comes back, and then reaches the stick back into the lane, and you're like,
They just gotta go.
I would just say discipline.
Yeah.
Like if they just play to the system that they are comfortable with. All of these guys are comfortable in it. It is not a major, they didn't make any major changes to it. They know what they're doing. They just have to get locked back in and playing smarter, more disciplined hockey on that unit because those are all veteran dudes.
Yep.
They all know what they're doing, and they were all part of a PK that ended up kicking ass by the end of the playoffs last year. So we know that they've got it in them. The unit has the personnel to succeed. They've just got to play better. And if you have to move off a Cogliano or an LOC because you're going to put Nichushkin or Lekin in there, fucking do it. Yeah. Like, you can't keep giving away games because you can't kill a penalty.
I do genuinely wonder how much of that is you don't have a Darren Helm anchoring a PK unit there.
Well, and really, between Cogliano and LOC
you should
and
be
Comfort,
fine.
you don't need Darren Helm to be here. If Darren Helm
They
is
just
your
have to
savior,
go back to being basic.
Right.
They have to do a basic penalty kill
agree with
here,
this.
and then start incorporating some of those more advanced things. Like, and I agree with you. Like, the being aggressive is great when everything's clicking.
Yeah.
That's when you give them a little bit more leeway, right, to go after
when the
those
red
pucks in the
carpet is
corners.
30 feet wide.
But when every puck is being scored from right at home plate, and there's no one around them, that's an issue. You got to cover that spot first.
Well, and especially Johnson and Manson together has shown zero improvements.
Oh, yeah.
It's
bad.
Not
And
better.
so-
It's
and-
not better.
And with Taves coming back in, you say, all right, you could do Taves Makar. That's your top pairing. You could just let that ride if you want to because they keep playing Makar on the PK. Fine. Put them together.
and then you can run a Byram Manson or whatever.
And then go with Byram Manson. That's your second pairing anyway.
Yep.
Just do that. And then if you wanted to, you can rotate. You can put Johnson into that situation.
Well, you're now rotating Manson and Johnson. You're not putting them together.
Or put Johnson with Taves, who's a very, very smart player.
Yep.
And you're not putting your two most mistake-prone players on your defense in Manson and Johnson together.
Yeah.
Megan, can you give us a positive take, or are you going to bury this even more?
No, but I do agree with what the assessment of the problems has been, and the solution then is to simplify the game and not overthink it, because it does seem like they are being too aggressive and they are overcommitting and they're leaving position to confront skaters and then leaving others exposed, and those are really simple problems to fix if they don't overthink it. And you look at how Logan O'Connor talked about the penalty kill and even Bednar, and they both used the word aggressive. So I think that was something that they were trying to hit on. But I think it's actually take that a step back first. Don't overcomplicate it in an aim to be too aggressive. And I think that solves a lot of their problems.
I think there's a little bit of an understanding with every PK. You're down a hockey player. Someone's always open. You would much rather give up the shot from the point, and if it redirects, tough luck, than give up the dude 3 feet from the crease, right?
Right.
Like,
Yeah, and where we've seen the problem is that, like, you go back to the Minnesota game, Caitlin Addison is standing still
Yep.
in the middle of the ice and takes a slap shot.
and a dude in the actual middle of the
Exactly,
ice.
and Eriksson Ek is completely
There's nobody
alone.
within 15 feet of him. Yeah,
Completely
Well,
alone.
there's a guy behind him.
doing a
and
whole lot of great defending.
Yeah.
There's nobody there to dissuade him from opening up the face of the blade of his stick and redirecting it perfectly the way that he did.
Yep.
There was nobody to dissuade him from that. There was nobody trying to move him off of that the position. There's nobody trying to take his stick away. Nobody was impeding with him at all.
Yep.
And that's where, like, you've got to, if you're going to leave something open, something is going to be open. Your penalty kill at the start of every game should be deciding, this is what we're taking away.
Yep.
This is what we're willing to live with. This is, typically, oh no, it's a shot from the point. Like, okay,
You'll live
with that.
Yeah.
You don't want it to be, the one-timer for Zibanejad while your goaltender is moving. You don't want it to be Panarin throwing a puck through the seam, through the middle of your... You don't want it to be Kreider standing in front of the net, tipping and banging home rebounds. Like, those are the things you want to try and take away. If you want to live with something from the Rangers, it's Adam Fox trying to shoot, not Adam Fox using the elite vision and passing ability to pick holes in your PK.
Yep.
Well, since you were 14 years old, if you were playing hockey, they'd draw home plate and say, anything outside of that we'll live with.
Yep. Don't give up stuff here.
Yeah.
This bad.
Yeah.
Blaze, what are our home plate bets for the night?
Oh, here we go. I had to do it.
I don't. Y'all here put Blaze?
Blaze anytime goal. That is Sammy Blaze. Not Blay.
Yeah.
Bleh.
Anytime
Yeah,
goal.
Sammy Blah is a pretty good, accurate description of his career. He's in the NHL.
He's in the NHL. He's made a career of it. Plus 475. I did it just because we have the same name.
Really good betting advice there.
Yeah. Don't take that betting advice there, but I'm doing it. Georgie, I 20. Is it 25 and a half? I thought it was 26 and a half. At minus 115.
I take both. I would take
Yeah,
that.
it's still
Yeah, either
way.
or. I mean, we've seen it. Like, look at last game. The game
30
before that,
some saves.
Kraken. Like, it's been bad. So, I mean, hopefully that's been fixed since Taves is back. But I'm not gonna bet against that. And then Avs money line, for some reason, the Avs
Close to
puck
even.
line is minus 235 or something along those lines.
Not it.
And the money line is minus 105. So I took the money line.
I mean, you don't get even money on the Avs on the money line very often. So
Yeah.
you gotta get it in while it's getting good. We are just less than 10 minutes away from puck drop here and have a watch along to set up. So we're gonna get out of here for the pregame show. Join us for the watch along if you want, or at very least join us for the postgame show afterward. Either way, we'll talk to you later.